EM Weekly starting right now, bringing emergency managers from around the world together to learn, share and collaborate.
Hey there. Welcome to EM Weekly. This is your host, Todd DeVoe speaking. And I have my co-host, Dan, with me back here. And today we're going to be talking about emergency preparedness. And the Emergency Preparedness Network that's been started by Paul Dutton is helping communities be ready. So Paul has 20 years experience as a veteran in disasters, and he's been a community emergency response team leader, instructor for over 20 years, working with the Sheriff's Department, or LA County Sheriff's Department, and L.A. Fire. And so he's got some experience in his background there. Hey, Dan, what do you think? Do you think that we do a good job? I know we do. I know we try hard, right? But do we do an efficient job of getting our communities prepared?
I do not believe we do. I think many of us believe we do, but we don't do enough. I mean, there's not enough engagement, and I think we do it at too small of a level.
Yeah.
We need to be thinking at a much larger scale. We have full communities who need to be prepared, not just a small group of people, which is usually what we bring together. And it's usually in as we're going to talk about today, in the it looks like a community emergency response team versus community training itself. And I think we need to be thinking at a bigger level, but ultimately I feel we're headed in the right direction.
I mean, we had Scott James on the webinar we had last month, I guess, and discussing community preparedness with his book. And, I think they're doing a great job up there. But that being said, that's just one community. And now we have our guest today, Paul, who's talking about, kind of bringing it more globally than just in one community. So, Paul, welcome to the EM Weekly Show.
Hey, welcome, guys. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate being on.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. So, Paul, what kind of got you started in, what was that fire that got underneath you to get you involved in community preparedness?
I guess originally, years ago when my kid was in junior high and we went to the school's disaster plan and, they did a little evacuation. My wife and I looked at each other with our jaws dropped to the ground and said, oh, this has got to be better. So we actually started with my kid's school and developing a whole new program for that school for, an earthquake disaster preparedness plan and evacuations and all that kind of thing. And so after 6 years, on the 7th year, finally, when she was in 6th grade, we took these searched the school, took them an hour and 8 minutes. We brought it down to 28 minutes. I had to search an entire elementary school with multiple buildings and kids and all that. So
awesome. So
locked us in, and then we took a C.E.R.T class, I think in about 1999, 2000, went to my sheriff coordinator and said, hey, really want to start the C.E.R.T program. We started from goose egg, and then now we have trained over 700 people. We've had 39 classes over the years. So we average about 3 classes a year. So, yeah.
How'd you originally get that level of acceptance and buy-in to allow you to come in and make that change from the school to start with? I think that's a big aspect of things, especially now with the way things are. So how did you get that buy-in and get them to accept you to be able to come in and start making those changes?
Gosh, I'm not really sure. Maybe my natural leadership ability, but I also was involved in Red Cross at the time, and the person in charge of it was a Red Cross person, and she basically said, "You think you can do better? Go for it." So we did, and we kind of launched into it from there. And and then we were taking C.E.R.T classes, and then we're like, of course, we were also sheriff volunteers at the time, so we just kind of put it all together and said, "All right, let's make this plan work." We looked at other schools and other programs, and then by like I said, the 4th, 5th, and 6th year, we must have had representatives from 8 or 9 schools from that district watching our program at the last one. So, yeah.
So now you live in an area that has a lot of fires and stuff, and so I know that you guys are active. Do you see that being more people being involved in preparedness because they live in that area, or are you struggling with the same ideas of trying to get those people? Because we talked offline and we're talking about the fact that 95% of the nation is not prepared for disasters. You guys have a higher level up by where you're at, or is it the same struggles?
Well, yes and yes. We definitely have. in my CERT classes, one of the things I tell them, I said, welcome to the land of La Crescenta, where we have hurricane force winds, right? We practically have had tornadoes in our area. We've had down power lines, earthquakes, fires, floods, you name it. We even have our own bear encounters up here, so drive-by shootings and all the rest. So I have a whole line that goes with it. But yeah, Crescenta Valley is just one of those areas where we're at the base of the mountains there, in the foothills and the San Gabriels. You know, the wind event of 2011, 2015. So a lot. So yeah, but you're right. It's a fight. Every time we hold a class, we're blasting it out on the newspaper and the internet and social media, and we maybe get 30 people or 40 people, right? And it's like, God, you know, we'd like to have like 200 people. So when we had a community town hall meeting on emergency preparedness, I brought all these factors in, you know, the fire department, the sheriff's department, and others. Let them know that the fire department, the sheriff department won't be there in a major disaster. As great as they are, we love these guys, but yeah, they're going to be overwhelmed, and they have their own places to go to. So you are going to be on your own. We're trying to get that word out. And so my wife and I have been doing that since 2000. And we started our CERT program with two premises, because you're right. In La Crescenta, we live, well, we're, you know, half mile that way, we're in the city of La Cañada, and a half mile that way, we're in the city of Glendale, and another half mile, we're in the city of Los Angeles. So we started, my first premise was, let's put all this together. We talked to Glendale CERT, the Glendale Fire Department, and then the Glendale CERT Department. We started the La Crescenta CERT Department with the Sheriff's Department, with L.A.S.D. And then we're like, okay, well, now we have LA County Fire in here, Station 63. We have Glendale Fire, Station 28 and 29, right? We got in Tujunga, just a mile away, we got Station 74 from Los Angeles Fire Department, LA City Fire. Okay, and I said, well, wait a minute, there's still Southern Cal Edison we need to deal with, right? Southern Cal Gas, right? The Crescenta Valley Water District. And what about representatives from the school district? So we started this whole idea of community planning together way back then. And I brought in Red Cross. I brought in the Disaster Communication Services from the Sheriff's Department, DCS, and hand radio ops. And we started throwing trainings, with all these people together, which was kind of unheard of way back in 2003 and 2004, 2005. So, and we've been continuing to do that. One of our biggest drills we were one short of 100 people. We had 99 folks. And we actually had a community-wide drill where we had, certain things were stationed all over the community. We had to go find them and then deal with that particular problem. So I had great support from the Montrose Search and Rescue team with the Sheriff's Department, and my captain and I, we worked really well together. And he taught us a lot of stuff from that perspective and from the ICS perspective. Because he knew I was in charge. So the first thing he did on that drill is as soon as I got to the sheriff's station, I set up my little command post. He pulled me out and said, "You have a heart attack, you're dead. Now what?" So how's your team going to function now, Paul, without you? Right. So as he says, you get to tap one person and you have 3 seconds. I said, "All right, you're it." And so we learned a lot of good things about backup, incident command and all those stuff. But yeah, we looked at that whole community process, and we have been ever since. And our second goal in doing CERT here in Crescenta Valley was making team locations. We have 8 team locations or 10 team locations, and 2 of those locations double. So 2 teams go to the same area. And we looked at where would we go and what would be the best place to do that. So because we know in a major disaster, the fire department's going to be out. So, but people may go to the fire department in that area and say, "Hey, I need help." So we'll set up the CERT post right there on their front lawn. And then we also looked at Red Cross is like, "Look, you're going to need open area shelters." Very much so. So we're like, "All right, we'll be at all 3 of the parks." So we developed this whole system with these locations, these 10 team locations through Crescenta Valley, and we acted as if each one would be on its own. Then we started doing radio communications with FRS and radios, and then we even used ham Well, then we finally went to ham radio. And I darn near cried on the day that we had ham radios, because I could talk to every one of my team captains in different locations all at the same time while I was driving with my ham radio guy in the car. It was pretty cool. So cool. That's the way to go. That's why we got a lot of our folks ham radio trained, and we just kept going with that premise.
Right.
So those relationships built up ahead of time with the whole community. Say in the station fire, for instance, I'd been working with the Crescendo Valley Water District. Dennis Earn at the time was the head coordinator for Crescendo Valley. And when the fire was breaking out, of course, all the sheriff lines, the 6 phone lines at the station, were being overwhelmed, and he couldn't get through. And I know this because my wife was working there at the station. So he called me up, because we had a relationship, and said, Paul, what should I do? This is 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The fire's coming over the ridge. It's coming down into the backside of La Crescenta and looking at right down into our backyards. And Dennis and I knew exactly what to do. I said, pump them up, because normally we have 11 big 500,000 gallon water tanks in La Crescenta. They're most of them are up on the hill. 9 of them are. And they don't usually pump them back up and fill those tanks up until 2:30 in the morning when the energy's the cheapest. So Dennis and I had talked about all these kind of things ahead of time. And I said, pump them up now, because as soon as the fire department starts tapping in there, every one of these fire hydrants, we're going to go low on water. And usually at 4:35 in the afternoon, those tanks are somewhere between a third and a half. So yeah, we pumped them all up. And yeah, did the fire department think about this? Did the sheriff's department think about this? I still haven't gotten my gold medal on this, but yeah, I think that was a pretty cool thing that we finally got them to save it. So, but that's a perfect example of working together, the whole community, and getting that. So, and then as positions change, it's difficult, and there's fire department has 3 shifts, the A, B, and C shifts. And so you're always constantly trying to get a hold of the new, fire guy, captain for that area. So, but yeah, we keep continuing to do, strive for that. We've even given our team captains at times with command boards. So each team captain for his area had a command board. And then we had these sophisticated radio signals, right? So team 1 was on channel 1, and team 2 was on channel 2, and team 3 was on channel 3, and so on. So, but then we'd have ham radios at each of the stations that would call into the sheriff's station where I was at, which was kind of like a little incident command post. So in La Crescenta, yeah, we kept doing that, and that started. A lot of people started getting interested in that. Next thing I know, I was consulting other CERT programs, probably about 10 or 12 of them by now, over Los Angeles County. So
before, just as a lead-in question before our break, I'd like you to talk about your level of engagement to the community that gets them involved in your programs and keeps them involved. So let's kind of explore that avenue.
So yeah, our level of engagement is always difficult. It's always tough. As the sheriff's department, I'm also the past president of the chamber, and have helped people on the town council, been very active in the community for a long, long time, a business owner and those kind of things. So we kind of use that in our influence in the sheriff's department. My wife's like, the president and has been past presidents of the sheriff's support group. So we use that to leverage get as many people involved as we could. And as we started doing this, a lot of these people said, yeah, we really want to get involved in doing this. So we'd reach out to the clergy. We'd reach out to the Glendale Unified School District and all their principals. We taught them. And so we kept just going to these circles of influences and trying to get them into each one of our classes. And yeah, it was always a struggle. So it's like, we'd have 38 signed up and, 30 would show up kind of thing. So, and then continuing to keep that on. A lot of our folks, now that we've been doing this for so many years, a lot of our team captains moved on, right, or moved out of the area, or retired and moved away and those kind of things. So it's to re-engage that. Now during COVID, we've been having Zoom meetings. We're going to have another Zoom on March 13th on Saturday. We'll open it up to the public and all that kind of stuff. But we usually have 40 to 60 people on our Zoom meetings. So it's difficult. It's difficult to keep that engagement going. And so we always joke and said, we just need a little 5.4 like Ridgecrest, just to shake them up a little bit. And then boom, class fills up really fast. So yeah.
Well, we're gonna jump to break here in a second here, but when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about that. That are we getting a little bit of disaster fatigue, and is it a bad thing for us? So let's hear from our sponsors.
The Outer Limits Supply Company was founded on the idea of providing high-quality first aid kits. Their goal is to supply the life-saving equipment you'll need to mitigate the majority of injuries often seen during austere times. From minor injury on an outdoor adventure with your family to your team responding to a major traumatic event, Outer Limits Supply has the kits to manage most situations, providing practical, user-friendly first aid kits that anyone can use. Enter EM Weekly, all capitals, at checkout and save 20% off your total purchase. Go to www.outerlimitsupply.com today. That's outerlimitsupply.com.
Power outages can happen at any time. Is your community prepared? The Power Up solar power charging trailer can be used to address the need for temporary power for your community. In addition, the Power Up solar power charging trailer can provide a platform to support your public information and community resiliency outreach efforts throughout the year to educate and inform people about the need to always be ready. For more information, visit powerupconnect.com. That is powerupconnect.com. Well, thank you for listening to the sponsors. Please check them out and let them know that you heard them right here from EM Weekly, because without them, we cannot bring you the quality content that we bring you. Hey, before we went on break, Eileen Ivy reached out and she said, I'm sorry she missed the introduction. She goes, I'm in Glendale, and she has her CERT from 2010. She goes, are you looking for people? So, Paul, maybe you got a recruit right there coming from this. So.
Yeah. We reach out to anybody who's CERT trained, and a lot of folks in Glendale, unfortunately, the program has kind of gone by the wayside for a little while. And we welcome them with open arms. We're all trained in CERT. We all need to be ready. So yeah, come on over. Hopefully you'll have my information here, and we can get you put into our system, so we get you on their email list and put you with one of our teams.
Look at that, Danielle. We're connected people live on the show here. That's awesome. So before we went into break, we talked a little bit about the concept of we're seeing a lot of disasters come around, and we think that in time makes people get more prepared. But however, I think we're seeing like a little bit of a backlash. That's not the word I'm looking for, but we're looking the opposite directions happening, where people are just so overwhelmed with everything that's going on between COVID and fires and earthquakes and hurricanes and tornadoes. I just don't think they know where to start. Are we seeing this becoming apathetic towards disasters because of disaster fatigue?
Kind of yes, but kind of no. I think some people are, but other people who've gone through these disasters, like Texas and the rest, 73% of the country was, had an average temperature of 23 degrees. So I think we're starting to see an awakening or an understanding or an awareness, I should say, of, hey, maybe I need to be a little bit better prepared. And we're kind of trying to go with that with the Emergency Preparedness Network channel. That way we can reach more people. And our sole goal is to simply get more people prepared, right, for disasters and not get caught off guard like these folks in Texas and other places. Because everybody has those same 6 premises I say in my videos. It just won't happen here. It just won't happen to me. That won't be that bad. I can count on my neighbor. I can call 911, right? So it's like, well, no, it does happen to you. And how many times we see someone on the news going, God, it just didn't think it would happen here. It's like, yeah, the Woolsey Fire traveled from the beaches of Santa Monica all the way up to Bell Canyon in less than a day, 26 miles. A wind-driven fire. So yeah, there's a lot of people, even celebrities, right, who had to evacuate. So it's like, yeah, it affects everybody. So I think we're seeing a lot of people understanding, like, maybe I should get ready, or maybe I should get involved. And where do I go? What do I do? What's that 3-day kit thing all about? And it's like, so one of our very first videos is dispelling that 3-day myth that you're going to not be ready for 3 days, which when we first started training back in 2000 or that, right, we used to tell people 3 days, get a kit, make a plan, stay informed. That's the Red Cross stuff. I'm also a Red Cross volunteer for the last 10 years as well, involved in just about every aspect of Red Cross. And So in that process, we told people, so look, we need to get ready a lot longer. So I tell them, put a 0 behind that 3. I said, we need to be ready for at least 30 days. I said, and the whole thing about that, even after 3 days, the fairy godmother's not going to come down and wave her magic wand and say, okay, everything's going to go back exactly the way it was, right?
Right.
So yeah, I'm trying to get people that understanding. It's like I was telling you, Todd, when we were offline, it's like, why do we learn more about how to put on a seatbelt on an airline than we do about getting prepared for an earthquake or a fire evacuation or a floods or the things that could affect us and do affect us almost every day?
So, and you alluded to it, before the break, but it almost takes a disaster to happen to somebody before they realize I should have been prepared. So what level of engagement do you have with the community to continue to push? Because it does need to be, disaster fatigue, I don't believe it's a real thing. I don't. I think, they need to be hearing it over and over and over again and see how relevant it is to say it can happen anywhere at any time. And because we, as a country, we have a short-term memory. So what can we do to avoid having to have a major incident take place before people can, I should say, start to think in a preparedness mindset?
I'm not sure. But I'll tell you that in my C.E.R.T classes, when I finally get people to sign up and I tell them all the great things we're going to do in this class, and they get pretty excited. In the first 2.5 hours of that class, I try to get these people into a fetal position. In other words, I try to scare the crap out of them so badly that they're like, oh my gosh. And it's not uncommon that at the 10 o'clock break, the wife is calling the husband and saying, you get down here, right? You need to learn this stuff. So, because I paint a pretty bad picture of what a true 7.2 earthquake, or this, the great earthquake we've been talking about with Dr. Lucy Jones and the Golden Guardian project and all this stuff for years, the Great Southern Cali Shakeout. Like, this is what it's going to look like, and this is what's going to happen. And don't even think you're going to rely on your neighbor. It's like, so we're all going to be on our own. I said, and everybody's going to be fumbling around trying to figure it out. So why haven't we prepared for this? And you're right, it drives me nuts. Everybody has a very short memory, and it's like, we go right back to it again. And when we had that little Ridgecrest, shake up here in Los Angeles, well, we were only 100 miles away. I tell people, I said, it was like a 7 point something in Ridgecrest. I don't remember what it was. I think it was 1.
Yeah.
I might be mistaken. And I said, okay, bring that thing down exactly 100 miles, and you've been right in the center of Los Angeles. I said, so that would have been a whole different 4th of July for you. I try to paint that picture of what that's going to look like. And it's not, the press and everybody, they kind of roll over this. They don't tell the people the real reality of what this is going to look like. But yet we've seen this stuff, we've seen these kind of things happen. We've seen the aftermath of tornadoes and stuff like that. We've seen right here in La Crescenta, we had floods after the fire, the station fire, that just eliminated 42 homes. Right, Paradise Valley had cars stacked 4 high in it. Down on the streets of K-rails that were not staked in, washed down the street like pretzel sticks. So we've seen this stuff, and I show all them that, since you live in the line of La Crescenta, I remember I said, this is what could happen and could happen again. So you're right, it's a lot of apathy. Right, so even in my fire evacuation video or my red flag warning video, I tell them, I said, look, we're looking at red flag warnings from Santa Barbara County to the Mexican border. That's over 20 million people alone. I said, and then Southern Cal Edison, comes in with these calls and says, hey, look, you could lose power, not for 1, but maybe 2 days because of these wind events. They're worried about fire breaking out. We even had it the day before Thanksgiving. So I tell people, I said, okay, I guess you're just not one of those 20 million people that might lose power. Because we all, right? And when they do, they're all so upset, like they didn't expect it. We build all our fault lines, and we just have, you're right, Daniel. I'm not sure how we can convince them, but if I get Governor Newsom at least did the LISTOS program, that's a great idea, but there's so much more we need to do. And I've been turned down from grants because he said this was an educational program. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, just because you don't think it's important. I said, yeah, this should be taught in every elementary school or in our high school, as far as I'm concerned, across the land. Yeah.
Absolutely. Talk about Thanksgiving. I actually lost power on Thanksgiving Day right after we got finished cooking dinner. Not before we served dinner. Like we just got finished cooking the turkey, pulled it out of the oven, and poof, we lost power. So yeah, it can happen anytime. They don't take it off for holidays when events happen. So, well, Paul, tell me, well, I want to get a little bit about your videos because this is why we have you on here. You created some resources for emergency managers and for community leaders to share with their communities on disaster preparedness. Tell us about your video series and how we can find it.
Oh yeah, and we're on YouTube. It's be sure to type in the Emergency Preparedness Network. If you type in emergency, we're going to get 50 million YouTube videos. And I kind of went on to YouTube, so in my real estate industry, and I was looking at stuff, and I started looking in the emergency preparedness videos, and I'm like, well, there's stuff from, the South Carolina nurses program, and there's stuff from over here, and there's no offense to any of these programs, but there's nothing really comprehensive. And I thought something, that really lays it out what you and your family need, kind of what we train in C.E.R.T in our 24-hour training. So I said, why don't we get this going for the general public? And so, yeah, I feel free, all the emergency managers out there that are watching this, anybody involved in emergency preparedness, feel free to share these. We want to get the word out. We're not doing this to make money. We're doing this to help people, get prepared for the next disaster. So we've rolled out 12 of these videos now, from dispelling the 3-day myth that you're going to be out there for 30 days to red flag warnings. We got fire evacuation coming out next week. Yeah, we're pumping one of these babies out every week. It's killing me, but yeah, we're loving it. And we just want to get the general public aware. And yeah, please feel free to use these and put them in your trainings, use them on a Zoom for your own people and your own programs. The more people that use it and get them out, the better. And I am so open to anybody's ideas that they would like to see. And any other avenues that you want to see us cover. We've gotten 12 videos. I got ideas for about another 30. So I think I'm good to 42 weeks. At that point, I'll probably need more help. But yeah, please send those ideas in. We're looking into generators now and Generac systems, and what does that mean? And have you set that generator up? Have you even got one? Gee, we've been getting these red flag warnings 4 times a month. So why aren't we getting ready? Why aren't we thinking our power won't go out?
Right.
So yeah, why haven't we done this? You're right, Daniel. It's like why people just don't think it just won't happen to me.
Absolutely.
Like even the fire's coming, 300 yards away from the house. Like, oh, do I have to evacuate? Yeah. We've seen this stuff, we've been firsthand in the station fire, seen this stuff. So, yeah.
And we're seeing it more and more because, people, especially in California, where people are moving into the urban and wildlife interface, and it's getting crazy. So, hey, Paul, thank you so much for your time today. I do appreciate it. And everybody, Paul's contact information is down in the show notes. So if your pencil's not sharp or you're driving down the road and you couldn't put down that URL, please just go to our show notes, click on it, and go to there and give Paul some support. I tell you, the videos are great. It's a good, if you don't have to recreate training videos because Paul's done it for you. They're free. The access is there. It's just get our communities prepared, and that's what it's all about. So, Paul, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, man. Hey, thank you so much, Todd and Daniel. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Bye. Hey, everybody, our next show coming up next week is going to be the Tsunami Preparedness Week or month, actually. This is what we're talking about here in March. And we have the USC's Earthquake Country, Mark Benthian's coming on to talk about tsunami preparedness and tsunami response. So that's what we're doing next week. And so, hey, everybody, listen, be safe out there. It's all going on. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. And also don't forget about coming over to Crisis Cafe at www.crisis-cafe.com and join our network of emergency managers for emergency managers by emergency managers. And Daniel, what do you got to say?
Don't forget Clubhouse. Follow us on Clubhouse. We're going to be doing some rooms on there, and keep in touch. Share. Not only share these podcasts, but share these things so we can build our community.
Hey, and everybody, say hello to Jeanette, our new board operator over there. Yay, Jeanette! Good job today. All right, we'll see y'all guys. Stay safe, stay hydrated.